Hello everyone, I'm Admiral Ellis of the TTO, and welcome back to the Admiral's Musings. I remember last week I did mention that I was going on a mission this week, and it actually did come up. I didn't have to postpone it again. But it wasn't the fun that I thought it was going to be. I mean, it was fun. It was actually... Alright, so... It was an infiltration mission, which is not something we get to do too often. It's something you'd think would come up more often than it does. But it was infiltration of a base that were creating some sort of genetic melds of Daleks and I don't know what the hell else. But it was Dalek. It was Dalek, and it was time travel, and it wasn't supposed to be there. And we kind of work in lieu of the Time Lord Council now, ever since the Time War. So we have most of our continuum rectifying missions, and then we have these guys off to the side. But, of course, they knew we were coming, and they were prepared. They had anti-ship batteries mounted on the planet's surface, and they had satellites, anti-ship satellites. So we had a hell of a time. I brought Devereaux in, because big guns, you know. And we went storming in, and we got into low orbit, and all these satellites turned and started firing at us. And the shield held pretty well, but the problem was they were kind of nudging us, and we were going to fall out of orbit. So what we had to do, well, we kind of abandoned that plan. We kicked on the engines as best we could, and we flew out around to the asteroid belt of this system, which was a couple planets out. This system was kind of compact, though. They were almost... I want to say there were 3 or 4 habitable planets, or although it might have just been 3. But they were on the 3rd planet from the Sun, and there were 2 more habitable planets on further out orbits, and then there was an asteroid belt, and then there were the gas giants way out there. But we went and we docked. We didn't dock. We parked at an asteroid. And then we got off in a jumper, because jumpers can cloak. I would normally take the batter to hell, but that leaves a massive, massive energy signature. So, we get into a jumper, and it's myself, it's Darren, Alec, Nick. Gregory stays on board because he gets skittish in terms of battles, so he tends to stick more around the technology. He's getting really good with the crystal stuff, so I'm proud of him. But we take a puddle jumper, the 4 of us, down to the base. Well, not down to the base. It's not quite as cut and dry as it might sound. We get through the atmosphere, or we get to the atmosphere. We get past all of the low orbit defense satellites. They don't see us. But we hit the atmosphere, and we actually start causing a big deal of re-entry heat, because I didn't calibrate the thing before we left. I didn't calibrate all the inertial dampeners in the jumper. So we started making this great big red streak across the sky, you know, how re-entry is. And of course, then all of it was actually kind of a temple-looking thing, which is their genetics laboratory. It's on the shoreline of this area. It was kind of on a big peninsula, and they had batteries all in the water. They weren't on land, which kind of surprised me. They were all in the water around the peninsula. And they had this giant electromagnetic shield wall over the usable edge, and it actually had a gate in it, which was kind of nice. Hold on. Adjusting the lighting a bit. So they had the big EM shield wall, and we could see that pretty clearly, but it didn't cover the whole thing. So we knew if we came in from the top, they wouldn't be able to spot us, which is why we were coming straight down. We were coming straight down and making a giant fireball, so they saw us anyways, so that didn't work. There were about 25 of these ship batteries, anti-ship batteries, started firing, and just filled the sky with flak, because I guess that's what they default to when they're dealing with a cloaked ship. The jumper held up, but we knew it might not. So instead of coming straight down to the base, we kind of bailed on that and swooped around the sides of the peninsula, and we just launched drones at all these things. Of course, we had to abandon the cloak, so we dropped the cloak, but we we hugged the water, so they couldn't get a good radar reading on us. We actually did get hit. We got down, we started coming around the north side of the peninsula, and we hit 1, 2, 3, 4, missed 5, swung back around, but then the 6th turret down the way got a lucky shot, and it skimmed off the roof of the jumper, and we got forced underwater for about a second, and we went underneath the 5th battery, and it's chained to the ocean floor, and it has posts and stuff. We went underneath the 5th battery and kind of mangled these steel posts. The jumper was fine, but we mangled these steel posts, and so the 5th battery falls into the sea, and we fly up, pretty much straight up out of this wreckage, and the barrel is sitting on the ground, and it fires a couple of shots straight up at us. Misses. One of them's pretty close, damages the nacelle. So now we're a little bit low on propulsion power, and we need to kill another 19 of these batteries. So we swing around and we take out 1, 2, 3 more of them in a row. It's not too hard when you have the homing drones. We're just kind of doing all sorts of flips down near the water surface, or we keep alternating, but going up grabs the fire from all the other batteries within line of sight. Fortunately, they weren't plasma and they weren't directed energy, so we didn't really have to worry about instantaneous death. They were mostly kinetic, and I'm not sure where they were getting the ammo, but they were mostly kinetic rounds, and they were firing those Dalek balls that you see attached to their armor. Loaded with something that was very, very bad, because those explosions that were coming off with the shrapnel were very powerful. So we scuffed up all the side of the jumper as well. Almost broke the windshield, but the windshield held fine. There's a big crack in it. That's from like battery number 17 when we souped along the rest of them, basically so many were left. And we said, oh, screw this, because we'd taken out half of them. So we had the north side of the peninsula clear. We swung back around to the north side of the peninsula, landed behind the temple so we were out of line of sight, and cloaked again. Immediately, like, friggin' 50 Daleks come out of nowhere, out of this temple, and start swarming through the grassland, it's not really jungle, but it's like woods. It's like sparse woods. And they start fanning out through the woods, and fortunately they don't find us. Like, one goes right in front, and another one goes about 2 yards behind. I'd actually turned so that I was pointing at the base, so that there was less of a chance of one of them walking into us. Worst come to worst, we would just go up, but they'd probably see the grass, shift. But they went by us, and when they went by us, of course, I lowered the back door, and we went out very quietly into the space, and, that wasn't all the Daleks, of course. We don't have cloaking devices. So now we have to fight our way down to this genetics lab, which is in, like, sub-level 15, and not get killed by Daleks. Preferably not let them see us for any giant length of time, so we're kind of leaving a trail of death. Fortunately, because of their network, they don't set up security cameras, so if you can destroy one before it sees you, they have no idea you're there. They can figure out their last known position, but by the time they see that, you're long gone, and they don't know which way you went. So we get down to sub-level 8, and we're cornered. There's 2 coming down this hallway, 2 coming down this hallway, and behind us is like some sort of armory that I really don't want to touch because it looked... when I glanced in there and I saw a bunch of eye stalks that were depowered, so I figured they're going to call for reinforcements and all those eye stalks are going to wake up and we're going to be effing screwed. So I had my hole punch on me and I just kind of aimed down like I do sometimes. And these guys are shouting at us, who are you, exterminate, or you work for the doctor, blah, blah, blah. And so I just blow out the floor, and we drop down, however the levels are, it's like 7 feet. We drop down like 7 feet, land this pile of rubble. They're all sitting above us, trying to figure out how to get down. Because we made the floor pretty wrecked, and because of the rubble that we brought down, they can't actually fit through the space. So they're trying to figure out how to get down without breaking their own base. Not thinking about the fact that they can just go down a lift somewhere. And we scatter. So Darren and Alec go one way, and I'm with Nick, like, off perpendicular to them. We don't know where the genetics room is, we just know it's in sublevel 15, and we know it's in the northwest corner, but none of us has a compass, and we got really disoriented. So, we get in another 3 or 4 levels. They're caught at, like, a Dalek roadblock, basically. There are 2 facing the other way, they don't see them, but there are more around the corner. So if they shoot the Daleks in front of them, the Daleks around the corner will see that, turn the corner, and they'll get trapped again. So they take off running the other direction, and they go down a couple of corridors. She was telling this to me over the radio very, very quietly, like whispery, because she didn't want to let them know that she was there. They find a lone Dalek, they kill it, because it's nowhere near anything else. There's a computer terminal there, but they don't have a way to access it. So, I actually do have a way to access the computer terminals on me, we just haven't had a moment with one alone, and we haven't found a good working one. One that they weren't clustered around. And if you blow up a Dalek while it's attached to a computer terminal, the computer terminal is basically borked. Also, if you blow up a Dalek, they know where you are, and then they come running for you. So we blew up that Dalek, we knew we only had about maybe 5 minutes before those ones that were around the corner a couple of hallways away. So she calls me, I come running. I get the maps all downloaded into my personal time device, my PTD, and then we know where it is, so we just take off running. We're going down these spiral ramps that go down, 3, 4, 5 sub-levels. We're down at sub-level 14, which is one above the room we need to be at. And 20 of these Daleks come moving down the stairs, shifting back and forth, yelling, because they don't know how to not yell. We get down to 14, and there are these creatures that are like half-human kind of thing. They're actually more like half wolf man. I can't even describe it. They had the head of a wolf, they were furry, and they had one eye, like a Dalek, on the actual end of their snout, which was really kind of funny. Because, Daleks like to be Daleks. They had these wolf men, and they stood on 4 legs, sort of like a creeper does, and they had 2 arms, and they were all hairy, and they had these kind of uniform-looking things. I'm not really sure what they were made out of, but they weren't really armor. So, wave after wave of these guys come forward, and we keep cutting them down, but the Daleks are coming down the stairs pretty slowly, I'll add. Now, sub-level 15 isn't accessed the same way as the rest of them are, and there were a bunch of different staircases to get down here anyways. We were just kind of fanning out, covering as much area as we could. So we finally get through these waves of things. We seal off the doors to where they're being made, because they're just basically replicators down there, building life forms. That isn't helpful because we can't extract the source DNA from those databanks. We go all the way down this big hallway, we come to this, huge empty room where there's all these test tubes and laboratories and things. And we smash everything. It's basically Alec, he takes this metal post that was holding like a Bunsen burner or something similar, and just starts whacking these glass jars of I guess it's DNA and all sorts of other stuff. He just starts beating the crap out of them, destroying everything he can. I walk up to one of the computers and I shoot the hell out of it. I go up to another one and I upload a virus, because now we're at the master terminal. So I go over to the master terminal, I upload this virus, and it just shuts down everything, but not the Daleks. So the place is decommissioned. We don't have once we get Devereaux in, we'll be able to blow it up. We don't have the ordnance to blow it up with us. That'd be kind of, yeah, it would have been a good idea kind of in hindsight, but it would also have been a bad idea. Because if all else failed, Gregory was on Devereaux, he could have brought the ship in, braved the fire, and blown the place up. But now we have a sample of this stuff, which I took after Alex smashed most of it. I said stop, and I took a sample. We have, visual records of the Wolfmen, I guess they're going to be called. That's what the doctor keeps calling them. They're not werewolves. They're something completely different. I've sunk, haven't I? But we have the visual records of the werewolves. Now we have DNA records for them, and we know exactly what the Daleks are doing in terms of gene modification. It's not the first time they've done this. They did it with, like, pigs before. It's weird. But I'm not really sure what their ultimate goal was, and the Doctor isn't either. Because we uploaded this virus, but I was a little bit hasty, and I didn't get all the information. I only got the maps, and the maps aren't helpful because we found an auxiliary staircase. We made it up most of the staircase. We killed about 5 or 6 Daleks on the way up. And it's more like an auxiliary ramp, because Daleks aren't good with stairs. So we made up the auxiliary ramp, and we made it to the surface. And all the Daleks that were fanning the woods have come back, and they made this big circle around the base. Not good. So we kind of walk out into this big circle of Daleks, and they're all yelling at us, yelling different things. And then, of course, this, the black Dalek, which is normally the leader. These are all different colors, by the way. They're not the normal ones that I was used to seeing. There's, like, yellow ones and red ones and blue ones. It's like, fun colored Daleks. But, so we have to put our hands up and guns down, and they want the data back, because now we're the only ones with the copies of the data. Unbeknownst to them, we already transmitted a copy. The moment we walked out into the open air, we transmitted a copy to Devereaux. He has the data too now. And a data burst on exactly what to do. So, I brought a couple of last-ditch things. A couple of Oni things, actually. Darren has a drop shield. A bubble shield, rather. Drop shields are kind of armor-based stuff. Bubble shields are their own thing. So, it can stand pretty much anything for about 30 seconds. So, we have to keep them busy for maybe 20 minutes. It's literally a 20-minute conversation of what are you doing, and then we're just trying to be coy, and we're talking our way around things. Daleks can be really slowed up by just talking to them, because first of all, they talk slowly, and second of all, they just get caught up in whatever you're trying to tell them. So we kind of BS them for about half of that, and the other half we're pretty close to giving them the thing, and they're gonna shoot us, and then there's this bright red streak in the sky, again. The orbital batteries are down, the sea-based batteries are disconnected, and half of them are destroyed anyways. And Gregory swoops over in the city and fires about 100 drones down at this place, and they're basically designed to drill a hole and then blow the base out from the inside. Now, trouble with that is, we're standing there. So, we have to run. We just run towards the circle of Daleks. Not towards the edge of the circle of Daleks. They're all staring up at this. We run towards them. We get about 20 yards, and we're about 5 feet from the nearest Dalek. And he says, halt, points his gun. Darren throws down the bubble shield. As I said, we're about 25 yards from the door. Darren throws down the bubble shield and everything explodes. It's great timing, I'll be honest, but she throws down the bubble shield, all the drones drill into the compound behind us, they start blowing up all the Daleks around us, the reactor goes critical, blows this giant column of fire and brick, stone brick kind of stuff, up, maybe a mile into the sky, and we're sitting there, and we have our maybe, a minute of peace, while this thing, because we supercharged the thing. It was supposed to be 30 seconds, but we had the 30 seconds and things were still blowing up. So I shut down a couple of my devices, the things that I keep on me, and I supercharged this thing. Alec gave me his PTD. Nick, what the hell did Nick give me? Nick always gets the weird pieces of technology from like Tesla and Einstein, and they keep handing him random crap to test out. And one of these days he's going to get himself killed, but I'm getting off track. So we supercharge this thing. It lasts about 1 minute and 9 seconds. It lasts 1 minute and 9 seconds. And in that time, everything's over. We're standing in the middle of a smoldering forest, and there's like the shimmering outline of the jumper, because it's the only thing that wasn't on fire. We go back to the jumper. We go back to orbit. And we take Devereaux back to Mabel's. And that's that. Keep on staring at the stars, folks. I'll have another story for you next week.